Got glitter all over my screen. Who doesn't, right? Hi guys. Hope everybody's doing great today. I'm just gonna wait a minute, let a few more people come on, because I know I had like so many people that wanted to see this one. And it's a good one too. This is a very informational live. Okay, so I'm gonna go over a lot of stuff with you guys. It is it isn't so much about actually making anything. I mean, I'm gonna show you some stuff, but we're not actually gonna make a whole cup. But I want you to go over the do's and the don'ts of working with clay on a tumbler, or even a piece of wood, like if you wanted to do you know, 3D art on wood and stuff. So this is really about clay and how to work with clay, and the best clays that I found to work with, how to color your clay, how to deal with your clay, you know. So those are the things that I really wanted to cover with this. And then I will explain to you guys how I did the Ursula. I think this is going to be an Ursula. I actually need to ask a question to you guys who are knowledgeable, because I really don't know the answer to this. Have you ever, and I'm assuming this is going to be a no, but who knows? Those of you that work with the alcohol inks, have you ever cooked at a cup? So let's say we're going to do, you know, the design in an alcohol ink. I'm assuming that you put it into the epoxy, or even with mica, put it into your epoxy, put it on the cup. I'm assuming that we cannot bake this, even though we're only going up to 220 degrees. I use tumbler epoxy, so I am going to check with Paul over there, because I'm super curious about doing something, because I thought, wow, it'd be so amazing to have like a shipwreck cup and then do like the Kraken coming up, so you know, the octopus tentacles. I think that'd be really awesome. So I am going to give it a shot and see. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to go about doing it. And what I may end up doing is doing it on a cup, baking it, and then pulling this off. So we'll see what happens. I think it'd be cool. Check your volume settings. Can you guys all hear me, other than Tony? Because my volume's turned all the way up. So I think it's you. Check, make sure it's not muted. That's the other thing too, is I know that Facebook has a tendency to mute lives sometimes. Hello everybody. Cynthia, Nita, Mimi, Brandy, Cynthia. Oh my gosh, so many people. This is so awesome. Hey Carrie, how you doing? So, things that you can do with clay. You can do anything with clay. Don't be limited. You're only limited by your mind and what it is. There you go. Awesome. Oh, that'd be awesome, Tommy. I think, I hope you post it, because I would love to see. I haven't actually had the chance to do one, and I'm dying to try it. I just think that it'd be like so awesome. But okay, so when you're working with clay, you can do anything, guys. Anything. So the gnome thing was huge. Everybody was like, oh, do gnomes. And I must have made like 200 of these stupid gnomes. And they're great. But then everybody gets stuck in one mode. Oh, I can only make gnomes. No, you can't. You can do octopuses. You can do fairy doors. You can do, so the tree would become, you know, the tumbler, and then we're doing the fairy door on top of that. You can literally use anything at all to help you to make your designs. One of the things that I do real quick is, so I got this really cute little silicone mold, thing. And I was like, ooh, well, if I do Ursula, so here's her little short one, and then, you know, like her little sweetheart neckline would be here. And then it's like, well, you know, I could sculpt one, because I sculpted one. And then I was going through and I'm looking, and I was like, I found this in my stockpile of thousands of molds, which we all have. And I actually found one that looks very similar to what Ursula's necklace is. And so I may use that. And when you're going to do, so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm going to show you real quick how you do a mold. So when you're going to do a mold and you're going to adhere it to a cup, one of the tricks is you want to get your stuff into your mold. You want to press it really good. Press it really, really, really good. Usually on a flat surface is better. Get that whole thing there. And you notice how I'm letting it squish off to the sides and come up way beyond what the mold is. And there's a reason for that. Gently remove it. And then I have like all this excess here. That's okay. And I'm not going to cut that off, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use it on my cup. And I'm going to say, okay, well, I like it here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere it onto my cup, and I'm going to squish it down. You could bake it separately, but I'm going to cover all those things. But that's just a neat little thing. So how many hundreds of molds do you guys have, guys? And you say, wow, that'd look really cute on a cup, like Mickey Mouse, or the slithering, you know, the Harry Potter mold, or any of those things. You could do that. You can totally incorporate molded stuff onto your freeform stuff. So it, like, sky's the limit. It's all up here, wherever you want to go. But there are some basic do's and don'ts when it comes to working with clay. I've worked with clay since I was 10 years old, maybe before that. I've been in art, you know, doing art and as an artist for many, many years, over 30 years. And I'm finding that there are good clays and there are bad clays. There's sometimes the necessity of paying extra money for a better quality clay is going to make your work so much better, and you're going to have so few problems working with that clay. Where I know, like, Dollar Tree has polymer clay, and while that's great for the kids to fool around with, you might get lucky and have a good result. For me, it's not worth it. It's not worth the risk that I'm taking, and I'm spending all my time doing all this sculpting and adding on like little suckers, or, you know, carving the beards, putting the suckers onto, you know, the other cups. Where the heck did my door go? There it is. The detailing in the door, stuff like that. And I spend all that time doing it, and then I put it in the oven and the thing cracks into a bunch of pieces. Not worth it. Not worth my time. Not worth, you know, it's a waste. So when we're talking about doing these things, partially for the love of what we do, but also hopefully to make a little extra income, give somebody something really cool, you want to use a good quality clay. My favorite clay, and I'm going to go over this with you guys. And this is how I buy this. This is heavy. Oh my God, this is so heavy. Okay. So, a lot of people, and again, this is me, and this is my years of experience that I'm sharing with you. There are two kinds of clay that I would suggest, and only two. There's this, and there's this. This is Das. This is an air dry clay. This will work really well for a lot of things, but there are a lot of issues with working with this particular clay. First of all, it's an air dry clay, which means that it can take up to 72 hours in order for it to fully dry. Now, it's a water-based clay, so that means you cannot do any epoxy work. You cannot do any Mod Podge, tack it, decoration until it is 100% dry. So already you're saying, okay, I know I'm going to need to wait anywhere from 24 to 72 hours before I can touch my cup again. Hold on, don't get ahead of yourself. I'm just getting going, Vicky. I don't want to jump and answer your question right now because it's going to throw off everything. So we're not going to skip ahead. So first we're talking about air dry clay. I don't use this. I don't like this. And I have reasons for not liking it. Number one, it is an air dry clay, which means the minute that you take this out of the package, it starts to dry. When you're putting it onto your cup or you're freeform forming it off, the longer that it is exposed to the air, the more that it's drying. So you're getting little shards, little chips, little flakes that are coming off. The oils in your hands are drying out the clay. And what ends up happening is it's a hot mess. And I know a lot of people love it and they swear by it and they think that it's great. For me, I'm going to chuck it in the bucket and no, I will not use this. I just will not use it. You also have to constantly keep your fingertips wet in order to smooth it, to work with it, to get it to go. So this is about $8. You can get it at any craft shop, Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's, etc., etc. You know, it's non-toxic. It's fine. It's gluten-free. For those of you that need to have gluten-free stuff, you know, you can fool around with it and try it. This is a 1 pound. I think it's a 1 pound brick. Something like that. I don't know exactly see the measurement on here. But I don't like it. I don't like it. And if you do, awesome. You know, you go ahead and you use it. This is my go-to. There are several different types of Sculpey clay that are out there. There is the Sculpey Original. This is all that I will use. I have other Sculpties. I have many, many other Sculpties. I have the little polymer Sculpties, which come in all the pretty colors, which are great for like making flowers or doing things like that. Little small cookie cutouts. Those are fine. But any real artwork, any real sculpting, I'm going to do with this. And it's non-colored, it's white. It takes paint really well. It seals really well. I have not had any issues or problems with repelling or anything like that on my cups. So that said, this is my win. And this comes in 2 forms. You can buy it like this. This is a humongous box, guys. This is 8 pounds of clay. It comes in 8 individual bricks. When you get it, and just let me pull this out of here because I want to show you. This is how I store it. After I open it, I take the bricks out and I put them into Ziploc bags. And the reason is because the thing that they actually have in the bag, it's kind of like it's more like a cellophane. So when you open it, it rips and the air is getting at it, which isn't really a problem because this is a baked clay. But this is a 1 pound block. So this is what they look like. And you can actually buy just a pound. And you're going to get a lot. I haven't started, Debbie. I haven't started yet. I'm just going over all the info on the clays and stuff like that right now. But I will show you guys how to do that. Okay, so that said, this is how it comes. You'll find that these things are, you know, there's like these little rows or whatever. You just break off a piece. Just break off a piece. You're going to see that it's dry. It feels dry. There's little pieces that will break off of it. But as you condition, what's called conditioning, and all that is you just squishing it with your hands. Usually I'll do like a whole block at once. And just keep breaking off little pieces. You want to get it kind of malleable and roll it in your hands. It will kind of stick to your hands, but that's okay. It washes off. You want to just keep working it until it gets soft. You can get this at any craft shop. Joann Fabrics, Michael's Craft, Hobby Lobby, Amazon has it. So really, whatever you like, honestly, I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. The other really nice thing about this clay is you're not going to add anything to it. Like this particular, the white, you don't have to add anything at all. You don't need to add a fixative to it. You don't need to add something that helps it to like smooth out the way that some of those other polymer clays do. You know, these are great. And a 1 pound block, you can do a lot. You can do a lot of work with a 1 pound block, depending upon what you're doing. I think I did with the 1 pound block when I was doing the gnomes. I think I did maybe 5 from the 1 pound block, depending upon, you know, like how much detailing I put into the face, how thick I made the brim of the hat, the nose, of course. Really, seriously, on the Kraken, I used maybe a quarter, maybe a little bit more than a quarter of a 1 pound block for this particular design that goes all the way around. But that's all you're doing is you're just squishing bits of it. It's also great for your hands as far as a workout free hand. So like if you have arthritis, which I have terrible arthritis, well, it just kind of gets the fluids moving in the hands, and it's wonderful. It helps to strengthen up your hands. And then what I'll do, oops, I dropped it, which happens. Once I get my block all broke up, you know, what I'll do is I'll just take a Ziploc baggie, a little one. I like the freezer bags because they're a little bit thicker than like a sandwich bag. And you just put them into it. And I'll just have them in various size balls so that I can kind of grab what I need out of it when I'm working with my clay. Okay, so Sculpey clay is the way to go. I have never, ever, 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 ever had an issue or a problem when I worked with Sculpey clay. When I work with DOS, when I work with the Dollar Tree, when I work with even some of the other polymers that they have, like the Michaels brand polymer clay is horrible, absolutely horrible to work with. Beautiful colors, gorgeous colors, but it's not worth it. It's so not worth it, you know, when it comes down to the time and the energy. Okay, so that covers on the type of clay that you want to use. And again, those of you that are joining, you know, catch the rewatch. And I'm going to post this. I'll leave it here. And also, I will post this on my tutorial YouTube page, which has all my lives on there. It just keeps everything in one place for the lives that I've done in other groups. And then if you have questions or problems or issues or need to know something, like message me and ask me. I will post a link, Annabelle. I love your name, by the way. I will post a link at the end, just so that you guys can have it. But also, it will be here in the group available for rewatch. But you can also, like, if you know somebody did a live that you want to see, all you need to do is click on their name or their little picture. And what it will do is it'll bring up like their whole feed of all of the commentary and things that they've done. So you can actually find lives that way as well. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, and again, like I said, this is really informational. This is more about how do you work with clay? What do you need to do? What do you need to know in order to be successful? Okay, number 2 is you're going to make your design and you're going to adhere it to your cup, or you're going to decide, like I like to actually do this on my cup. And you can, if you're worried about blowing a seal or having issues, don't. The biggest thing is that, okay, so the clays come with baking instruction, and being the good people that we are, we follow instructions. Do not follow the instructions on the box or the bag that you're getting. Please do not do that. You're going to do it the way that I'm telling you how to do it, because I've done it, I've tried it, I know what I'm talking about, and believe me, if you bake this cup the way that they tell you to bake it, number one, it's going to burn your clay, most likely. Number two, it's not going to cure properly. You're going to end up with lots of cracks. So we're just going to bypass the rules, and we're not going to do that. We're going to do it the Curie way, and it's going to work really, really well. You're going to take once your cup is all done, or your clay is all done, what you're going to do is you're going to, awesome, Jennifer, awesome. Okay, so you got it all on there. You've got all your clay on your cup, like I said, or you decide, like this little piece right here, maybe I would bake that separately. I've already formed it to the cup. I know it's right. I could gently slide it off because I didn't really press super, super hard if I wanted to. And I could put that down on the side and then glue it with, I'm going to go over glue next after this part. So we're come to the baking. So first things first, a cookie sheet. Now this you can pick up at Dollar Tree. I have used my own personal like kitchen cookie sheets and things like that. If you're not comfortable doing that, and really you don't need a great big humongous cookie sheet unless you're baking like a ton of cups at the same time. You could just get a little small one. Don't use tin foil unless it's a last ditch option. And there's reasons for that. And then you're going to get a piece of parchment paper. Now, I get my parchment paper like this. It's a couple of dollars for this roll. It's phenomenal. I use it when I put it down for my glitter, because it cleans up super easy. I've been using this piece for like 2 weeks. And yeah, it has like little things on it, or little pieces of glitter, little bits of glue. Well, I can actually put it on a hard surface, take a cloth and just rub it off. It just pops right off, and then you just wipe it down, and boom. So you're recycling, you're reusing, and it's amazing. And then what I do is I save some of them for when, like they start to get ripped up, they start to look, like they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And that's what I will bake my clay on top of. So you take your cookie sheet, put a piece of parchment paper down on top of it. I've always done it this way. I'm not saying, like, it's not 100% that you have to do it and use parchment paper, but I do just in case something happens, something drips, something, not that it would, but who knows, it's crazy. Put it in the oven. And so you're putting the whole thing, the tray with the parchment and your cup. It doesn't matter. You can do your cup up, you can do your cup down, whatever you want to do. Put it into the oven, cold. The oven is cold. It has not been turned on. It is not lightly warm. It is nothing. It is ice cold. It is cold. You put your stuff in the oven. You close the door. Do not plan on using your oven for for a few hours. And then set the temperature of your oven to 220 degrees. Not 275, not 250, 220 degrees. And then once you have it come up to temperature, you can use it. You can use your regular oven for this. This is non-toxic clay. This does not, as far as my information goes, it does not emit anything like like with sublimation. It puts off like a gas. This does not. This is just baking clay. This is basically used for kids and artists that you don't have all that fancy stuff, so you're doing it at home. Yeah, the little toaster oven works really good if you're only doing like one side. I don't like using a toaster oven. Honestly, I just use my regular oven, and I'll use my middle low rack so that my cup is actually in the center. So, you know, you might have to like move your trays so that it's actually in the center. So you put it on your cookie sheet, your oven is off. You put the whole thing into the oven and close the door. And then you set your temperature to 220 degrees and you let it warm up to 220. Do not open the door. Let it warm to 220. Most ring or beep or do something to let you know that it's a temperature. That's when you're going to set your timer for 20 minutes. Not 25, not 19, not 15, not 17, 20 minutes. 220 degrees cold oven for 20 minutes after it's up to temperature. When the timer goes off, shut the oven off. Do not open the door. Okay, so what you're doing is you're creating a kiln effect. So, you know, like people fire pottery, ceramics and things like that. By putting it into the cold oven, all of this, everything on the cup, the clay, all heat up at the same time. And it's not shocking anything because the cup is cold and the clay is usually warmer than the cup. So you have two different variables and two different temperatures that are happening. Same thing when it's cooling down. You don't go opening the door, and we all want to do it. We want to do it. It's like cooking a souffle or a cheesecake, and you want to peek. And when you open the door, all that cold air goes rushing into the oven, and your cup is like, shock. You run the risk of, if you have a convection oven, your convection oven should also have a standard oven setting. I would use the standard oven setting, Deidre. I've not tried a convection oven. I do have a small one. I may try and do that because it doesn't get used. So, hey, why not? I may end up turning into a sublimation oven. I'm not really sure. But, so I don't know. I would say convection ovens have a tendency to cook things from the inside out and much faster than a normal oven. So if you're going to use convection, I would probably say you're going to have to fiddle around a lot with your temperature variables and things like that. I honestly don't know. Hey, Krista, no problem. The live will be still available. You know, I try not to get them deleted. I try to always mark them as permanent, and then I post them on my YouTube tutorial page. There should be on the oven, check your instructions. There should also be a normal setting for the oven, because not everything can be cooked by convention. Like baking doesn't really work super good for convention. So I'm sure there's a setting for both. All the ovens and everything's so smart now. It's crazy. Thanks, Krista. Thanks. Some people complain, you know, they say I talk too much, but I want to give you all the information and my years of experience so that you don't go through some of the garbage that I've gone through and having the mistakes and the heartbreak of doing all the work. Okay, so we just covered all the baking. So once more for the new kids that are here, you know, that are just coming in, tuning in, baking the cup, cold oven, put it on a surface like a cookie sheet. I don't use silicone. I just use, actually I have like a bunch of old cookie sheets that I just don't use for anything else. You can pick one up at the Dollar Tree, you know, if you have a dollar store, you know, because then if you, I don't know if I would, I have done it, but you know, some people are kind of, you know, they're concerned about stuff, so they want to have separate things for, you know, crafting versus cooking in your kitchen. Okay, so cold oven, set it for 220 degrees, let it come up to temperature. When it's at 220 degrees, turn on the timer for 20 minutes. Once the timer goes off, shut off the oven. Do not open the door. Let it completely cool. It's going to take probably a few hours. So we're looking at, I want to say I would not open the oven door for 3 hours. So you don't want to break that kiln effect, and you do not want to have a shock on your clay. You don't want to shock. Shocking is what makes it crack. You cannot oven cook air dry clay. You have to let it air dry. This is why, and I really like the Sculpey. So with the Sculpey clay, another really great thing about Sculpey is let's say I started this cup. Where did it go? I lost my cup. Oh boy. Okay. Anyhow. Oh, there it is. Jeez. I started this cup like 3 weeks ago. I just been doing a whole bunch of different stuff and working on different things. And so, I started this one about 3 weeks ago. And I walk away, I play with it a little bit, I sculpt a little bit, I do a little detailing, and then I'll walk away from it. But this clay is still soft. It's not covered. I mean, a lot of times I'll put like a plastic bag over stuff just to keep any debris, dust, cat hair, whatever off of it. But it's still soft. This will stay soft until you actually bake it. So if you have a busy life, our kids, and you just don't, you don't have a bunch of hours to sit and dedicate to really sit down and do like this. Took me probably a couple of hours, three, maybe 4 hours to do. If you don't have that kind of time to actually sit and be able to do it, the Sculpey is really is absolutely more the way to go than air dry, because half your stuff is going to be partially dried. It's going to start to crack, problems. So stay away from, I don't know. I just stay away from air dry clay. That's me. Okay. So we covered those. The next thing is that once your cup is cool, so you're going to take it out of the oven and you're going to continue to let it cool. Usually I will wait overnight. So I do most of my work during the day, and then in the evening, I'll have like five or after dinner, whatever, I'll do all my baking. I'll bake all my cups and stuff. And then I'll just leave them in the oven overnight. Just remember to take them out of the oven. But if because boy, I'll tell you, unless you're the only one living in the house, make sure you mark the oven and say cup in oven or something like that, because you don't want to turn it on to like 350 and then cook it. That would be bad. Once you have your cup out and it's completely cooled, you're going to notice that some of your areas will lift. Now, I did not have that happen with my gnome. My gnome is really good. It's secure, because there's a lot of surface that's been covered. But when you have smaller detail pieces, particularly these areas that come up in here, you're going to notice that some of them actually lift. Like this one is lifting. You see that? Like that? Now, when I put my epoxy on here, that will cover it and that will take care of it. But I'm not going to go directly to epoxy. I'm going to spray paint. And I know that's controversial too, but I just do it. I will spray paint the entire cup. Once I spray paint it, then I'll come back in and I'll do my detail work. I'll do my painting, my glitter, my tack, like I'm going to try and tack it on the silver parts. I think that'll look really cool with that varnished look. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to do all my detailing on my tentacles. Pardon me. But if you want to glue these down and stop them from doing that, and stop them from lifting, which I do kind of recommend. And it happens, because even though you sand the heck out of your cup, you must sand it. You cannot just use a cup that has not been sanded. And the reason is because, and I know people will say, well, I do it all the time and I don't have a problem. Well, again, you sand the cup because when these cups come from the manufacturer, they have a coating on them. Actually, when you're sanding, what it's doing is it's removing that coating that's on the cup. That coating is there as a protectant, and it is there to repel things that come in contact with the cup. So could it be a problem with, spray paint, clay, glitter, whatever you're doing? Yeah, it could be a problem. So do you want to take the chance and go, well, I don't have any problems normally, and then you're in the middle of something and you start having problems, or worse, your customer gets their cup and the whole thing kind of comes apart? And I've seen it happen where somebody didn't sand the cup, and the whole thing, like that customer used the cup, they washed the cup, and the whole epoxy bit came off, and they're basically with a raw stainless steel cup in one hand and their epoxy stuff in the other hand. It happens. Do you want to really take that chance? I don't. So that's why I sand the heck out of my cup. Wash it, clean it up. I like to use a microfiber cloth and wipe it down. I rarely wash it with soap and water, to be honest. I rarely do, because what I'll tend to do is I have a microfiber cloth. I love it. It was cheap. I got like a pack of them. I got some at the Dollar Tree. I got some through Amazon. Wipe it down, and then I spritz it with alcohol, and I'll just wipe it again. I have two cloths. I have an alcohol cleaning cloth, and then I have the regular dust remover. I'll just wipe it down. I'll leave it for an hour because I use the really, really good alcohol, which is this 99% alcohol. Dries almost immediately. Super awesome. Got it on Amazon. So that covers that part, and that's really all you need to do. All right. So do you guys have any, if you have any questions, please ask, like ask me. Sculpting clay is the way to go. The original. Don't get the fancy stuff. Don't get like the colored stuff. They cost more, and there's more problems. A lot of the colored ones, you have to actually add something to it. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a fixative that you add it, and it helps to make it supple and move easier. When you're using the plain white Sculpty clay, no problems at all. All right. Now, if you want to color your clay, let's say you want to color your clay, and you want to have it pre-colored for what you're doing. Let me just grab my stuff. All right. Sorry. Okay. So we're going to color our clay. And these are from Southern Sassy Sparkles. I love these micas. These are so awesome. You're going to take your clay, just a little piece. You can't really do like a great big huge one because you are hand mixing in your mica. And it takes a little bit. So what you want to do is you want to kind of flatten out your stuff. Actually, I'm going to, just for time purposes, you're just going to take a little bit. You're adding something to your clay, so this can actually dry. Okay, so we're going to take just this little tiny bit. That's a lot. But you start small. It's like anything. Start small, and then keep adding as you go along. I'll rub it over the top of my mica, and then I will take it and I'm just gonna work it with my fingers. I've used acrylic paint. I didn't really like it when I put it into the clay. But what happens is it does change the texture of your mica, but you can just brush it on if you want to. So now that was just a tiny little bit, but what it does is it starts to color, and you could do it that way, or when you're doing your cup and you're done, if you want to bake it with color, what you can do is you can take your clay. This is not black, it's gray, but let me do, you're going to just take a little brush, you're going to dip it just a little bit. You don't want a lot, you just want to do a little bit. All right, I'm going to do the shell because and then you just brush this on to your shell. It's going to be light. You know, that's one of the things about micas is they are light, and you can just keep adding to it. Now when you bake it, it will stay close to this color. Okay, and then you would bake. That's soft clay. I just put that on there at the beginning. These are from Southern Sassy Sparkles. I'll put a link. I love these. This is CF Awareness, which is this gorgeous purple color. I love this color. She's got probably, I think, 12 different ones. You know, you can do any color that you want for your tentacles. I thought I had a black, but I don't. Oh, Dragon Slayer might be black. It looks black. It's kind of a deeper gray, so it's not black, but it will work. And what you would do is you would just brush it over your tentacle. And I just put it on kind of heavy, and then I'll just brush it around. And it slightly tints. So it depends on how you want to do it. The more you add, the more you, the more that you add to it, the darker that they get. But again, you know, you can save that for your after part. I've mixed them in my epoxy to do work with. I just like it. I like how they look. I think they're phenomenally good micas. It's Southern Sassy Sparkles. I'll find out for you, Deidre. I can't remember what they were. They're new on her site, and they're really nice, and she's got some really gorgeous glitters. You also have a code that you can use. Oh, Stacy just posted it. So you can go ahead over there and check them out. They're super awesome. I really like the micas. I think they're beautiful. I love all the glitter too. The glitter's like, wow. Awesome. Okay, so we covered the types of clay. We covered the baking of the clay. We also covered doing detail work. Now, how do you design, or how do you do, and again, this is kind of going to probably be like the last part of this one, unless you guys have direct questions. We're going to talk about how do you form shapes and things like that, and the structures that you're going to be using, let's say for the octopus cup. I showed you how to do molds, and I'll go over that again just in case somebody wasn't here that wants to see me do Let me find. Okay. So I have this little, you could actually do this tree. You could do any of these. This is just a little silicone mold that you can use. And you can use any of these. You're just going to take your clay. Not that I'm not using this on the cup. I'm just going to show you. Take a little piece of clay. Actually, I have one out. Soften your clay, and you just soften your clay by rolling it in your hands. You want the clay ball to be a little bigger than the shape of the thing that you're going to do. And then you're just going to press your clay in to your mold. Press it super good. See how it squishes over the sides? That's okay. We kind of do want to have that. I'm going to press it way down. I'm just going to keep flattening this out. I'm going to leave that big extra bit there. And then I'm going to pull out my little guy. So there's a cute little owl. Let's just say I want to put him on my cup. Ouch. Don't do that. They're so fragile till they get their epoxy on them. Let's say I'm going to put my little owl right here. And then all you're going to do is you're going to press around on the big part that's sticking out the sides. And then for the part that's on the stainless, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to drag them up. And I'm just going to smooth it. And then I can remove some of this excess that's up here. For this particular cup, it's actually going to be a tree. So I'm going to cover a good portion of it with branches and things like that. If you're finding that your Sculpey is flaking and it is breaking off in little tiny pieces, a lot of times what I will do is I've overhandled the clay, because your hands and the oils in your hands actually soften the clay. I'll just move on to the next section, another area, because I want to give the clay a chance to actually just kind of get back to a room temperature, not my hand temperature. And then you can use tools, silicone tools, any tools that you want to use. Sometimes I use tools, sometimes I don't use tools. It's just personal choice. Some people like to really work a lot with their hands. Some people don't. When you have the excess part, you want to smooth it up, and I'm putting a fairly decent amount of pressure on here. I'm coming from the beginning of the design, where the design actually starts. I'm pulling up, and what's happening is this part here is almost flush to the cup. It's just barely sticking up. You don't want to have big bulks. You don't want to have, like on this side over here, there's a lot of bulk. If you can see this extra coming off the door, this is a big chunky bit. You don't want to have that there. You want to actually smooth this all down and get it as flat as you possibly can for the excess, and then come back in and cut it off. With this guy, what I did was I took one side and I put it on. So I made my tentacle. Tentacle is basically super, super easy to do. I'll do one for you guys. So I'm just going to take my clay. I'm going to soften it again. So you spend a lot of time softening clay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to roll it. Now, the top of the tentacle is thinner, and the bottom of the tentacle is larger. So watch what I'm doing here, and I'm going to try and go slow. See how I'm letting this fall through my hands? And as I roll, what it's doing is tapering my tentacle. Boop. That's pretty darn good. And you can make it as long as you want. You can say, well, tentacles don't go straight up the cup. So you're going to take your tentacle and you're going to like say, all right, well, I want to do a little wave in my tentacle. I'm just going to press gently to adhere it to my cup, and then I'm going to decide how do I want my tentacle to go. Do I want it to overlap? I kind of like that. And then you're just going to press a little bit. I'll do this part last. And then you're going to decide which side you're going to push down. Now you could cook these separate and glue them on to your cup. I don't. That's one of the reasons I like the Sculpey, because this side is going to be more open and I'm not going to have something right up against it. I'm going to actually do this other side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to really press my clay. I'm going to press it down. I'm going to smooth it out, but I'm leaving the shape. So I'm pressing and I'm pulling, but I'm leaving the shape of the tentacle here. So this is still up. And then what I'll do is after I get this on, so I know that this is really on good, areas like this that are up in here, you're going to have to add a little dot of glue. E6000 works really good. I tried the Fusion Tack. It does work pretty good after it's baked, but I would not bake it. I would, you know, first. Okay, so you have your shape, your general shape of your tentacle, and this is kind of how it's going to go. I'm just going to gently press it down. Give it a little shake. Should be stuck. All right. And there's your tentacle. Now, tentacles normally have a rounded side, which would be the top side. But the part where the little suckers are would actually be a little bit more on the flatted side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish smoothing out, and then I've got a lot of excess hanging off the bottom. You can do that a couple of ways. Normally, for the bottom of my cup, what I will do is I will press really hard, and then I will just pull off the excess that's down at the bottom of the cup. And I'm just going to keep pushing and flattening that so that it looks tapered but off the end of the cup, and then I'll bring it up just a little bit because I want to get my epoxy. When I do epoxy on here, I want to make sure that the epoxy, just like when you're doing a fabric cup, you don't want to go all the way to the rim and or all the way to the very bottom unless you're going to wrap it, and you don't want to put clay down here because it's going to make your cup do funny stuff. So you see how I just took it right off, and there's just a little rim there. And that's what you're going to do. And I didn't do it with this one. Now, when you have all these little excess pieces of clay, that's awesome. You just save them. And then for your for little suckers, all you're going to do is just roll out a little bit, little snake of clay. I like to use an X-Acto blade, but you can use any sharp object. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slice little tiny slices like that, a little tiny bit, and then I'm going to place, let's say we put one right here. Now normally tentacles have two side by side, so you're just going to put one on, and then you're going to put your other one on and see if you like how it looks. So we have two. We got one here, one here. You're going to kind of tap it down on, but don't squish it flat because it's a sucker. So when you look at the bottom of an octopus, there's actually, they sort of stick up a little bit. And then you have your circles. And then you're going to take a sharp, something. Like you could use a pencil tip. You could use a paintbrush tip. You could use whatever, as long as it's the right size. Yeah, you can use the big one, use the little ones, whatever you want to do. And you're going to come in to the center of where you just put those little pieces, and you're just going to gently push down. Boop, and Look at that. You got suckers. Little suckers. And then you're going to go all the way down and all the way to the top. Now, normally an octopus, when you look at them, they'll have, there's double-sided, you know, there'll be two side by side. And they'll come right up to about this point. But they also have them on the tips. Remember, they, you know, they go all the way up to the top. So you can either put like little itty bitty teeny tiny ones, which is such a pain in the butt because you almost have to take like tweezers or something to get the exact placement. Or you can just do one. I just do one small one up at the top. Don't take your clay all the way to the very rim. You do want to make sure that you're going to be able to get a good epoxy seal up at the top of your cup. Once you have that all done, so that's how you do it. It's super easy. I mean, it's super easy for me. If you guys have problems, like, message me, and I'm more than happy to help you with anything that I can. Follow my YouTube channel. That'd be really awesome. It's just lives. That's all it is, lives that I'm doing, groups. It's not like I'm selling stuff. I'm not doing anything, you know. It's like, it's just the lives that I'm doing in the groups. So, you know, please feel free to join me over there. And all the groups I do, so Southern Sassy Sparkles, Tumbler Poxy, BJ's Glitters, Tumbler Tutors, sometimes I'll do lives in other groups too, like Pink and Purple Monkey. It's what I do. I like doing the lives. I like teaching, so it's kind of like fun for me. I do have my favorite places for my glitters and my epoxy. My epoxy, I only use Tumbler Epoxy. I love Tumbler Epoxy. I absolutely adore it. So, you know, please come, you know, you can go over and check out them. For my glitters, I love the glitters and the micas from Southern Sassy Sparkles. You get a discount code over there. It's Tutors 15. There's also BJ's Glitter and Epoxy, which you do get a code there. It's Kiri 30. I'm not sure what, I think it's like 10% or something. I'm not honestly sure. You could check with Brandy on that. So it's Kiri 30 over there. But again, I'm not doing that for that. I'm doing it because I do believe in the companies. I do believe in the products that these ladies are selling. I think they're phenomenal. And I really, really like them. I will put a link up for oh my gosh, I just lost my brain. For the Sculpty clay. Okay, please guys, please, when you get your clay, I had a lady doing a gnome a couple of weeks ago, and she was like basically crying to me that I messed her all up, and she bought the Sculpty clay, and it didn't work right, and it was breaking and having problems. And it's kind of like, okay, well, show me what you got. Well, she didn't get what I told her to get. She got some other kind of Sculpty clay. This is what you want, guys. Sculpty original. Make sure it says original on it. Don't buy like the brick. I actually have the face color, the beige. That's actually not too bad when you're doing like gnomes, or if you want to do like little fairies or faces, things like, it's not too bad to work with, but really this is the one that I really, really like. Once this is done, once I'm all finished, once I have it all baked, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray paint it. I'm going to spray paint it I actually am going to do this one black. I'm just going to spray paint the whole cup black. And then I'm going to come back in and hand detail the rest of it. So that's me, and that's the way that I like to do my stuff. You could, I don't spray paint the cup first. Why don't I spray paint the cup first? Because I'm going to put it in the oven and it's going to stink. So that's why I don't spray paint first. I just sand it You have to sand the cup. Don't skip the step. It really is, it makes a huge difference. So guys, I'm pretty sure I covered everything as far as do's and don'ts. Don't, you know, do this, don't do that. If you have any questions, problems, need to know something, please let me know, because what I do is I find those questions to be super helpful, because when I do another live, I generally will add that question in to my thing, like the sublimation oven, or not sublimation, but the convection oven. I'll probably put that in my future clay lives. You know, the fact that I really don't think that, I don't think it's going to work, because it's going to bake your clay from the inside to the outside. So your questions are super helpful, and don't ever feel bad about asking a question. No question is a dumb question. If you've watched the video and you know, like you really have a legit question, please ask the question. It's just that, you know, a lot of people that do the lives, they get annoyed when people ask like questions that they answered like 6 times, like what kind of clay are you using? Because I've said it probably 25 times in the live. But you know, there's people that are coming in that are just and in my lives, when you guys see stuff, because you'll see me a lot, and you know, just go ahead if you know the answer, like, hey, I said I use Sculpty clay. Sometimes I can't answer somebody because I'm actually way ahead and I'm on a different part, and if I jump back to talking about the Sculpty clay, it sort of derails what I'm doing. You know, feel free to jump in and help out and say, hey, she said she uses Sculpty clay original. Make sure it's the original. They're super fun. They're super fun. It's only limited to your imagination and what you want to do with that cup. You can use molds. You can freeform. You can do whatever. Last point, guys, okay, and this is kind of important. When you're making your design and when you're actually packing clay onto your cup, you're going to have certain levels. By that, what I'm saying is, where the heck did I put this guy? Okay, when you cook your clay, it's like I said, we're doing a kiln effect. So we're putting it into a cold oven, we're cooking it, we're letting it come up to the temperature that we need it to be, and then we're going to let it cool down when we shut it off with the door closed, so that it's not going to shock anything. Sometimes though, like this one, I baked one time. I only baked it once, and it's fine. It's nice, it's solid, everything is hardened up really well. But sometimes you'll do a piece that's thicker, like this nose is pretty big. It's pretty big. It's actually above you know, like I'm gonna say 2/3 of an inch. This is probably close to 2/3 of an inch, maybe even 3/4 of an inch out. Sometimes these aren't fully dry. Now remember that Sculpty baked clay does not harden. You could leave this out for 2 years, and if you didn't bake it enough, it is not going to be cured. It's not going to be hard. So you can bake it a second time. So let's say, you know, like I touch it and I'm kind of like, I don't know, it feels a little squishy to me. And the telltale is if you touch it after it's cooled and you touch it and you can see like your fingerprints, then what's going to end up happening is if you didn't cook it enough. And it's not that you did anything wrong. It's just that it's thick. So you need to bake it another time. So what you're going to do is the same exact process. The oven is completely cool. Put it back in. Set it to 220. Let it come up to temperature. Do not follow the box instructions. Do not follow the box instructions. Let me do that one more time. Do not follow the box instructions, because it says to bake it at 275 degrees for 15 minutes. And what's going to do is going to burn your clay. So don't do that. It's also going to blow your seals out on your cup. So these cups are designed to hold boiling water. Boiling water boils at 212 degrees. So water boils at 212 degrees. 220 is probably the maximum with the research that I've done. I haven't had a cup blow out at 220 degrees. Okay, so that the thickness can matter. So if you're going to bake it twice, you can do that. You can go ahead, you can bake it twice, and then let it completely cool again. Now, if it's still too thick, then it's too thick. So you want to kind of rethink your next project. But what I'll do is I'll wait 24 to 48 hours just to make 110% sure that my cup is completely cooled off. And then I'll bake it one last time. So 3 is the maximum. If it ain't right after 3, you got to do it again, guys. Just because you could really have a problem with the seal on the cup. So we don't want to do that. One more time, Michelle, for the tentacles. Super, super, super easy for putting the little suckers. You're just going to make a little snake of clay. So you kind of remember that, you know, normally with the suckers, they're bigger down the bottom, and then as they come up, they get smaller. So again, the taper thing is pretty good. You can take it, you can rip off little tiny balls, make a little ball, put it on your cup. Remember, they go 2 by 2, just like the animals going into the ark. 2 by 2. Put them 2 by 2 side by side. Kind of squish them down, but leave them sticking up a little bit. Squish them. You want to press it so that it adheres to your clay, but you want to leave them sticking up a little bit because it's part of the look. And then you're going to come in with something like, you could even use a toothpick. Like if you don't have clay tools, that's fine. You don't have to have them. I use paintbrush ends sometimes. And what you're going to do is you're going to come into the center of it. It's kind of hard to see here. And you're just going to gently press. And I kind of love this paintbrush because it sort of gives me like a really good look. But that's it. That's all you need. When you're doing up here, normally, like I said, normally I do just one, just because if you have cracking, remember to, sorry, this is getting a little longer than I wanted, but there's a lot of points to cover. If you have cracks in your clay before you bake, if you have cracks in your clay before you bake, when you bake it, it's still going to have cracks, guys. So make sure that you smooth them out. And the nice thing about Sculpey is the heat in your hands, the warmth of your hand, it will smooth all that out. You just work it and press it and touch it, and it softens it, and boom. Okay, I'm going to put the instructions for the baking attached to the live, because everybody forgets, and it drives me crazy because I just did this live in another group and had another woman contradict me. She's like, oh no, I bake it for 275 degrees. Now let me show you what happens when you bake it at 275 degrees for 15 minutes. Okay, I did this gnome, and I did, I wanted to make a point. So I intentionally did this because I just do this guy as a demo. Okay, so I put him in the oven, and I said, hey, let me try it. Let me see what happened. Okay, I haven't done anything to this cup. I haven't added anything to this cup. It's just clay baked. Okay. Can you see? I'm just going to move that there. Can you see this discoloration that's all along here? It's burned. This is actually burned clay. So this is what happens when you follow the instructions, because this is a stainless steel cup and this gets hot. So basically what it was doing was cooking it from both sides at the same time. And because this area is so thin that it's going to actually it's going to be a problem. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Oh, awesome idea, Michelle. Yeah, like I said, I know we are programmed to follow instructions, and like they're trying to make it easy for us. They're trying to, people don't hurt themselves or whatever, and I get it, I understand. But there are just certain times when you have other elements that are involved, like you're baking on a stainless steel cup. That's going to change. That's another variable that comes in. So this really works. It really works. When you're adhering, when you're putting stuff on, remember that sometimes whatever you're seeing is the way that it's going to bake. So if it's cracked, it's going to be cracked. It's going to look cracked. If that's the look you're going for, great. If it's not, you need to take the time to smooth. And that's really where those silicone tools do come in handy for smoothing out any bad areas. So really, I mean, there's 1,000, I could spend another 4 hours doing clay and telling you guys about clay. And there's just so much to go over and so many things to learn. But it is a learning process. It is a learning process. Just don't overbake them. Make sure you sand. Here, let me show you. Before I go, my last point. Let me show you the difference between a sanded versus a non-sanded cup. Okay, just real quick. Okay, so I have a, where's my cup? Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so the back here, notice I taped this off. This part here is not sanded yet. Okay, so what I want you to notice is, first of all, notice the difference in the shine. This one's really, really shiny, and this one's dulled out. Now, as I put this onto my cup, and I'm pulling my clay across, you see how that does that? Now watch this. I'm adhering my clay. See how well this sticks? It sticks really good. Where this one, it just sort of smeared across it. That's because of that coating that's on your cup. And it's meant to repel. That's what it's on there for. It's protectant. So again, you want to shave out, you want to get all that off. You're going to just do 220 grit. I like these little bricks. You can wet sand or dry sand, whatever you want to do. And I just grab some and scratch the heck out of the cup. And that's all you need to do. So guys, it's been a pleasure. I hope it was useful to you and that you got some really good information today about it. If there's other lives or other things that you want to learn about, let me know. I'm always down for trying. And if I don't know how to do it, well, guess what? I will learn so that I can show you guys how to do it and take it and make it easy. So you guys have a great weekend. I hope it's awesome. Tomorrow, I will be back here in the group doing word molds, embellishment, putting lights in, how to actually do, I'm actually going to be using a Let's Resin mold, which here's the package. I'm going to be doing one of these, and I'm going to be putting lights in, and it's going to be really cool. I'm also doing it over in the Tumbler Epoxy group. So, guys, join me. Remember to show our glitter people some love, and I will talk with y'all soon. Happy crafting. Bye-bye now.